November 27th, and we're in Daniel chapter 4. Yesterday, I alluded to this that King Nebuchadnezzar, a powerful world empire ruler, famous person from world history, actually gets a chance to write a chapter of the Bible. And I find that just amazing and incredible, hard to believe, and yet it's true. And you think about all that he must have gone through in order to get included in Scripture here. In fact, he's going to relate it here in chapter 4 for us. He's going to give us exactly his testimony, how he came to know that the one true God is the one true God. And again, I find it really amazing that somebody like Nebuchadnezzar would get an opportunity to hear from God through Daniel and through the people who had been exiled to his kingdom. And he starts out in Daniel chapter 4 by saying this in his own handwriting and in his own words. He says, King Nebuchadnezzar, to the nations and peoples of every language who live in all the earth, may you prosper greatly. It is my pleasure to tell you about the miraculous signs and wonders that the Most High God has performed for me. How great are his signs, how mighty his wonders. His kingdom is an eternal kingdom. His dominion endures from generation to generation. And then he starts with his testimony. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at home in my palace, contented and prosperous. I had a dream that made me afraid. And then you know the rest of the story, or you'll read the rest of the story here coming up in a few minutes. It's just amazing to understand that he has such a great and wonderful testimony. And actually, this is a wonderful pattern for a testimony. He talks about who he is, and then who he addresses it to. And then he talks about the greatness of God before he even gets into how he came to know about the greatness of God. And I think that's a wonderful pattern even for us in our testimonies. It's not a story about my biography or my autobiography, who I am, where I've come from. It's all about God and centered on him and his worthiness to be praised and understood and acknowledged. So I love that King Nebuchadnezzar, maybe the most powerful man that's alive at that time, maybe one of the most powerful men who ever lived, he says about God that his kingdom is an eternal kingdom. His dominion endures from generation to generation. I think Nebuchadnezzar has come up against his own mortality. He knows that he's not going to live forever. He knows that his attempts to even leave monuments behind for future generations to find, and some of those we do have to this date, that those are pale in comparison to what God is doing and has done, and to his eternal impact on all of history. So Nebuchadnezzar understands, or has come to understand, that he is indeed a humble creature and needs to be humbled. And his pride, his understanding of who he is, had to come up against an understanding of who God is so that he could have a proper perspective of what's actually going on in the world around him. So Daniel chapter 4 is an amazing section of scripture. I hope you'll enjoy reading it and hearing what happened to Nebuchadnezzar to bring him to his knees, to bring him possibly even to salvation. I can't say that for sure. It's not my job to say that, but from everything that's indicated in this chapter, it would appear that he came to a saving knowledge of who God is. That's it for today.